everyone, and welcome to Crochet with Siska. In today's video, I'm going to be showing us how to crochet these beautiful Vans baby booties. Okay, that's what I'm going to call it, and we're going to be using 3 colors in sky blue, black, and white. So this is the yarn that I'm going to be using. It is actually locally made here in Nigeria, but just for clarity purpose, I'm just going to explain the thickness. So here is the white yarn, and it is sort of like about 1/8 of an inch thick. Can you see that? And then I have the blue yarn. I'll be doubling it to get my desired thickness. So this is what I have, and it is actually not as thick as the white yarn. Okay, so this is it. It is not as thick as the white yarn at all, and it's the same thing I'm using for the black. So if you're new to this channel, please click the subscribe button and click the bell so that you get updated when I post new crochet tutorials. So let's dig into this video. The first thing that we are going to do is to start with the foundation chain, and I'm going to be chaining 13. I'll be doing 13 chains, okay? And this is how I start my slip knots. I basically just wrap my yarn like this, and then I'll go on to start chaining. So here is my first chain, then here is the second, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I'm using a 2.5 mm hook, a 2.5 millimeter hook. So at the end of chaining 13, the length of my chain is around 2 inches. Okay, so it's around 2 inches. So the next thing we're going to do is to do 3 double crochet stitches in the third chain from the hook. So here is my hook, here is the first chain, the second, and right here is the third. And this is me doing my double crochet stitch. So here's the first double crochet stitch. I'll go on to do 2 more. If you're hearing my baby in the background, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry for that. And right here is the third double crochet stitch. After this, I'm going to be doing a single double crochet stitch in the next 9 stitches. Okay, so each stitch is going to carry 1 double crochet stitch. So I'll just go on to do that. So here's the first one in the next stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat this 8 more times to have a single double crochet stitch in 9 stitches, or in 9 chains. After doing the double crochet stitch in the 9 stitches, the next thing I'm going to do is to move to the last stitch, and in that last stitch I'm going to be doing 6 double crochet stitches. So here is the first double crochet stitch. I'm going to do this 5 more times in that same space, okay, in this same space, in order for us to have 6 double crochet stitches in that last chain. So now that we have completed that, what we're going to do next is to move across the 9 stitches that we did previously. We're going to do double crochet stitches opposite those ones. So I'm going to come right opposite the first one. Then I'll repeat this 8 more times so we can have 9 double crochet stitches. Next thing we're going to do after doing this now is to work on the place where we started our double crochet stitches, which is the third chain from the hook. And right there we have 3 double crochet stitch. So I'm going to do another 3 more into that same space. So here is the first one. Right here is the second. And here is the last one. So we have 6 in total right there. And once I'm done with this, I'm going to do a slip stitch. So I'll come right at the top of the first double crochet stitch right here, okay? And I'll do my slip stitch in there. So row 1 has been completed. All right, now we want to move to row 2. And for row 2, we are going to chain 1. And we're not going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1. Okay, so don't skip that stitch, which is right there. I'm going to do 2 half double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So here is my first half double crochet in that stitch, and in that same space I'm going to do another half double crochet, okay, in order for us to have a total of 2. So now that we have 2 done, I'm going to repeat what I've done here for 3 more stitches. So I have 2 half double crochet in the first stitch. I need to do 2 half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So right after completing the 2 half double crochet in the next 4 stitches, what I'm going to do next is to do 1 half double crochet in the next 7 stitches. So the next 7 stitches will carry 1 half double crochet in each stitch. So here is the first one. And right here is the second half double crochet in the next stitch. I'm going to do another half double crochet 5 more times in order for us to have 7 half double crochet stitches. So after completing my half double crochet in the next 7 stitches, I'm going to be crocheting 2 double crochet stitches in the next 8 stitches. So here is my first double crochet in the first stitch. I'm going to do another double crochet in that same space. I move to the second stitch, do the first double crochet, and in that same space I'm going to do another double crochet stitch. Okay, so we're going to be doing this 6 more times in order for us to have 2 double crochet in a total of 8 stitches. So after completing the 2 double crochet in the next 8 stitches, what we're going to do next is to do 1 half double crochet in the next 7 stitches, just like we did previously. So here is the first one. I move to the next stitch. I'm going to do the second half double crochet stitch. I move to the third and do the half double crochet stitch there, and I'll repeat this 4 more times in order for us to have a half double crochet in 7 stitches. So right after completing the 7th half double crochet stitch, we're going to be doing 2 half double crochet in the next 4 stitches. Okay, so here is my first half double crochet in the first stitch. I'm going to do another half double crochet in that same space, move to the second stitch, do the first half double crochet right there, and in that same space I'm going to do another half double crochet stitch. So I'll be repeating this 2 more times in order for us to have 2 half double crochet in 4 stitches. And right after completing that, we're going to close off this round 2 with a slip stitch. And at the end of the day, we should be having a total of 46 stitches. So I'll come right at the top of the first half double crochet stitch right here, and that is where I'm going to do my slip stitch. So now that we have closed off round 2, we are going to move on to round 3. And for us to do that, we are going to chain 1. We're not going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1, okay? So the stitch right after the chain 1 is right here. And what we want to do is to do 2 half double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So I'm going to start with the first one now. So look for the stitch right after the chain 1, okay? So this is it right here. I'm going to do my first half double crochet stitch right there. It's pretty tight. So here is the first one. In that same space, I'm going to do another half double crochet, okay? So I'm just going to repeat what I have here 3 more times so that I can have 2 half double crochet in 4 stitches. So right after doing the 2 half double crochet in 4 stitches, we are going to be doing 1 half double crochet in the next 14 stitches. Okay, so I move to the next stitch and start my half double crochet stitch. Move to the second stitch, do a half double crochet stitch. Repeat this 12 more times in order for us to have a half double crochet in 14 stitches. So right after completing the single half double crochet in the next 14 stitches, what I'm going to do next is to do 2 half double crochet in the next 10 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next stitch and do the first half double crochet. In that same space, I'm going to do another half double crochet, move to the second stitch, do the first half double crochet, and in that same space we are going to do another half double crochet stitch. I'll repeat this process 8 more times in order for us to have 2 half double crochet in 10 stitches. So after completing the 2 half double crochet in 10 stitches, What we are going to do next is to do half double crochet, single half double crochet in the next 14 stitches. All right, so I'll move to the next stitch and do the first half double crochet stitch. I'll repeat this 13 more times in order for us to have a single half double crochet in 14 stitches. So after completing this, what we want to do next is to do 2 half double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So I'm going to move right to the next stitch, do the first half double crochet right there. In that same space, I'm going to do another half double crochet stitch. Then I'll repeat this 3 more times, okay, in order for us to have 2 half double crochet in 4 stitches. And once I'm done with this, that's the 2 half double crochet in the 4 stitches, I'm going to come right at the top of this half double crochet stitch here, which is right after the chain 1 at row 3. I'm going to do a slip stitch to close off our row 3 before we go on to begin round 4. So for round 4, what we're going to do is chain 1. We're going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1, and we're going to be doing half double crochet stitches in the back loop only. All right, so I'm just going to move to the next stitch right after the stitch after the chain 1. I hope that makes sense. So I'll come right there and I'm going to be entering into the back loop only. And did you see that? So I didn't pick the front loop, only the back loop. I do my first half double crochet stitch. I'm going to repeat this again so we see what we are doing. I move to the second stitch, enter in through the back loop only. Okay, do the second half double crochet stitch. I'm going to repeat this 61 more times because we're going to be doing 63 half double crochet stitches in the back loop only for round 4. I forgot to mention that at the end of your round 3, you should be having a sole length of about 3.5 to 3.75 inches. All right. This is for a baby of 0 to 3 months. So after completing the 63 half double crochet stitches in the back loop only, I'm going to come right at the top of the first half double crochet stitch in order for us to close off this round 4 with a slip stitch. So now that this is done, what we want to do next is to do round 5. And for round 5, we are going to chain 1, but we are not going to skip the stitch right after chain 1, which is right here. And we are going to be doing a half double crochet stitch across the front and back loop. And we are going to do this to a total of 63 half double crochet stitches. Okay, so here is the first half double crochet stitch. I move to the next stitch, insert my hook through it all, pull my yarn through. I do my second half double crochet stitch. I'm going to repeat this 61 more times in order for us to have a total of 63 half double crochet stitches for round 5. So after completing the 63 half double crochet stitches for round 5, we are going to close it off with a slip stitch right at the top of this half double crochet here. So we'll just do a slip stitch right there to close off our round 5. So this is what we have for our sole and the side sole extension. What I'm going to do next is to cut my yarn like so. Then I'm going to pull my yarn through, and what we're going to do next is to hide this yarn anywhere you want to hide yours. You can go ahead and hide it, okay? So after hiding my yarn, we're going to move to the next part, which is doing a slip stitch. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to just eyeball the middle of the sole, which is somewhere around here, and I'm going to start from there. What I'm going to do is to pull my yarn through like this. I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch, pull this yarn through and pull through the yarn on my crochet hook. So this is what we are going to be doing all around our shoe. Okay, we are basically going to be doing slip stitch or slip stitches, and I will advise that you do not make your slip stitch very tight, because it is what we are going to need to be able to crochet this part right here and this part. So make sure not to increase your tension while doing your slip stitches. So I'll just go on to do my slip stitch all around this sole right under the second half double crochet stitch, which is basically row 5. So after doing the last slip stitch, you'll notice there is a bit of a gap here. This is where we actually started the slip stitches, okay? So what I'm going to do is to come into that stitch and do another slip stitch so I can close that gap. So now that I've done that slip stitch into the part where we started, I'm going to cut my yarn and pull it through like this. And then what I will do is go on to hide this yarn. So after completing the slip stitches hiding the yarns, what we want to do next is the toe cover, which is what we have right here. And we're going to be using this blue yarn, of course. Now, in order for us to know how to start, okay, we're going to be finding the midpoint of the sole. So you can go ahead and use this part as a guide so that we know where to start, okay? So for me, if I want to start, it is going to be right here. So just go on to eyeball it like this, okay? And this is where I'm going to be taking point from. So I just want to put my hook into it, and then we're going to look at it like this. And as you can see, we sort of like have it in the middle, okay? So from where I have my crochet hook, I'll be counting 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's the 5th one. And this is where we're going to be starting from. Now we're going to be doing our stitches in the slip stitch on the inside. So I'm going to have to insert my hook right into that slip stitch. Okay, this is the difficult part because of the slip stitch. That is why I suggested that you do not do your slip stitches very tight, but still, it can still get tight, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is to pull my yarn through, and we are going to chain 1. I'm going to move to the next slip stitch and insert my hook. Make sure to grab all the black yarn from the inside, and I'm going to be doing a single crochet stitch. All right, so I'll move to the next stitch and do another single crochet stitch. So I insert my hook through the slip stitch, pull my yarn through, okay, and then yarn over, pull through these 2 loops. So that is my second single crochet stitch. I'll be doing this 6 more times in order for us to have 8 single crochet stitches. So after completing the row 1 for 1 chain and 8 single crochet stitch, what I'm going to do is turn my work. We're going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1. This is it right here. So I hope you can see that. And I'll move to the next stitch. For row 2 now, we are going to be doing a total of 9 single crochet stitches. So this is the first one. Here is the second. 6, 7. So you see where we did our chain 1 initially, this slip stitch right there. That is where I'm going to do the 8th single crochet stitch. Then I will move to the next slip stitch and do the 9th single crochet stitch. Okay, so this is what we have for row 2. We are going to move to row 3 now by turning our work, and we are going to always skip the stitch right after the chain 1. Okay, we are going to always skip the stitch right after the chain 1, so please take note of that. So I'm going to move to the next stitch, and for row 3 we are going to be doing 10 single crochet stitches. So here is the first one. I move to the next stitch, do the second, 3, 7, and 8. Okay, so here is the 8th one. The remaining 2 that will make it 10, we are going to do them in the slip stitches. So I'll come right here and do the 9th single crochet stitch. Okay, move to the next slip stitch, and then I'm going to do the 10th single crochet stitch. Then I'll turn my work, skip the stitch right after the chain 1. For row 4 now, we're going to be doing 11 single crochet stitches. So here is the first one. And then I will go on to do 8 more right on row 3 and do the additional 2 in the next 2 slip stitches. So after doing 9 single crochet stitches right here, like I said, I'll move to the next 2 slip stitches, and I'm going to do the 10th single crochet stitch right in the slip stitch. Move to the next slip stitch and do the 11th single crochet stitch for round 4. So this is what we have. I want to explain how rows 5 to 9 will be. For row 5, of course, I skipped the stitch right after the chain 1, and I'm going to be doing 10 single crochet stitches right on top of row 4, single crochet stitches in the next 2 slip stitches. So that will make it a total of 12 single crochet for row 5. I'm going to continue to do that, repeat the same sequence, but it is going to keep increasing. So row 6 is going to have 13 single crochet stitches, row 7 will have 14, rows 8 will have 15, and rows 9 will have 16 single crochet stitches. All will be ending with single crochet stitches in the next slip stitches at each row. Okay, so I'm going to do row 5 now. I skip the stitch right after the hook, move to the next stitch, and begin to do single crochet stitches. So here is the first one. I should be doing 9 more on top of row 4 to have 10 single crochet stitches right here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 9, and then 10 in the last stitch. Okay, so here is the 10th one. What I'm going to do is move to the next 2 stitches to do the 11th and 12th single crochet stitch for row 5. So this is what we have for row 5. We ended up with 12 single crochet stitches doing the last 2 at the slip stitch. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now for row 6, turn your work, skip the stitch right after the crochet hook, and what you're going to do for row 6 is to do 11 single crochet stitches, then do single crochet stitches in the next 2 slip stitches, okay, in order to make it 13 single crochet stitches for row 6. Now for row 7, turn your work, do 12 single crochet stitches right on top of row 6, then do single crochet stitches in the next 2 slip stitches to make it a total of 14 single crochet stitches. For row 8, you are going to do 13 single crochet stitches on top of row 7, then do single crochet stitches in the next 2 slip stitches to make it a total of 15 single crochet stitches for row 8. For row 9, what you're going to do is do 14 single crochet stitches right on top of row 8. Then you are going to do single crochet stitches in the next 2 slip stitches to make it a total of 16 single crochet stitches for row 9. So it basically follows the same pattern. Skip the stitch right after the hook, complete your single crochet stitches on the row before, and then do single crochet stitches in the next 2 slip stitches. So that's all. So right now I'm going to complete my rows up to row 9. So guys, we have completed row 9 with a total of 16 single crochet stitches. So I hope you guys got the explanation I did earlier. Now we are going to begin to do rows 10 to 15. So beginning with row 10, we are going to be skipping 2 stitches, this one right here and then this one right here. And for rows 10 to 15, we are going to be doing a total of 16 single crochet stitches for each row. Okay, now if you continue to do it as we were doing previously, you are going to be having increase, and this part is going to get more how would I put it, more open. So we want to maintain that 16 single crochet stitches for each row, so you can just be, you know, covered like this without, you know, going up. So like I said, we skip the stitch right after the hook and the one after. So move to the 3rd stitch from the hook and begin to do single crochet stitches. Okay, so we are doing row 10 now, and we are going to be doing 14 single crochet stitches on top of row 9 and 2 single crochet stitches in the next 2 slip stitches to make it a total of 16. So what I'm going to do is do my first single crochet stitch right here. So 1, 2, 13 and 14. Then I'm going to do 15 and 16 in the next 2 slip stitches. So 15. So move to the next slip stitch and do the 16th single crochet stitch. So this is what we have for row 10. Okay, I'm going to repeat this same sequence for 11 to 15. Skip the stitch closest to the hook and the stitch right after. So we are moving to the 3rd chain from the hook. I'm going to do 14 single crochet stitches and do single crochet stitches in the next 2 slip stitches. So this is what I'm going to do for 11 to 15. So for row 16, which is the last row for the shoe cover, what I did was to do the 14 stitches on top of row 15. I did not do the usual single crochet stitch in the next 2 slip stitches. Okay, so I'm going to come right at the next slip stitch, not the one we did for row 15. Okay, so I'll come right at the next slip stitch. I'm going to insert my hook right there, and I'm going to close off row 16 with a slip stitch. Then I'm going to cut my yarn, pull my yarn through, and then I'll go on to hide the rest of this yarn. So the next thing we want to work on now is this part that you can see here. Okay, this extension that we have here. And what I'm going to do is to come right here. Now we're going to count from the slip stitch 1, 2, 3. Okay, then I'm going to move to the next stitch, which is right here. And what I'm going to do is to chain 1. So I'm going to pull my yarn through like this. Okay, I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to do 8 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch, pull my yarn through, and do the first single crochet stitch. Then I'm going to do this 7 more times in order for us to have 8 single crochet stitches for row 17. So we are doing a chain 1 and 8 single crochet stitches. So after doing the 8 single crochet stitch, what I'm going to do is to chain 1, turn my work, I skip the stitch closest to the hook, okay, and then I move to the next stitch. I'm going to be doing 8 single crochet stitches for row 18. So here's the second one, 7. And I'll come right here where I started. Okay, I'm going to do the 8 single crochet stitch. So here is my 8 single crochet stitch. Then I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to skip the stitch right after the chain 1, and I'm going to do 7 single crochet stitches for row 19. So that is the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what I'm going to do next is to do a slip stitch right at the end here to finish off row 19. So I pull my yarn through. So we are doing a slip stitch here, okay? And I pull through this loop. I cut my yarn, pull my yarn through, and this is what we have. So what we want to do next is to sort of like smoothen this part, okay, so that we can have what you can see here. So I'm going to insert my hook into that black slip stitch. I'm going to pull my yarn through, okay. So I pull my yarn through like this. So I'm going to be hiding these yarns as I go along, okay. And what I'm going to do is chain 1 right there, and I move to the next stitch, okay. I'm going to be doing single crochet stitches to a total of 19. So here is my first single crochet stitch. I move to the next stitch, do the second, move to the next stitch, do the third single crochet stitch, four, 11, 12. So I was hiding the yarn as I went along just to make this edge a little bit thick, okay. So what I'm going to do is do the 13th stitch right in the slip stitch. So I insert my hook, I pull my yarn through, do the 13, okay. So move to the next space right here, 14, 15, 18. Then I'll move right here and do the 19th stitch. So 19. And then I'm going to close off this round with a slip stitch. So I'll come right at the black slip stitch for row 16. I'm going to insert my hook, pull my yarn through, pull it through this loop. Okay, and what I'm going to do is to cut my yarn, and I'm going to pull the yarn through, and then I'll go on to hide the rest of the yarn. Okay, what I'm going to do next for the side and back extension is to come to the edge of row 20. So I'm not starting where I did the slip stitch for row 20. Okay, I'm not starting at the end of row 20. I came right at the beginning, and I'm going to come right at the first stitch that you can see here. We are going to be chaining 1. So I'm just going to insert my hook in there, pull my yarn through, and then I'm going to chain 1. So after chaining 1, I'm going to move to this slip stitch where my row 20 is. I'm going to do a half double crochet stitch right there, and then I'm going to move to the next slip stitch, and we're going to be doing another half double crochet stitch right there. Okay, so here is my second half double crochet stitch, and we're going to be doing half double crochet stitches in the slip stitches all the way to the slip stitch at the end of row 20. Okay, this one right here. So I did a total of 29 half double crochet stitch. So right where I have the slip stitch, what I'm going to do is to do a single crochet stitch in there, and then I'll move to the next stitch and do another single crochet stitch. So that is it for this first row. We're going to turn our work. I'm going to skip the 2 single crochet stitches that we did here, which is 1. Let me show you. So I'm going to skip this one, and we're going to move into this one. Okay, so move to the 3rd stitch from your hook. So does that make sense? So move to the 3rd stitch from your hook. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to do 1 half double crochet in the next 6 stitches. So here is the first one, then here is the second one, I'm going to do this 4 more times in order for us to have 1 half double crochet in 6 stitches. So after completing the 1 half double crochet in 6 stitches, what I'm going to do next is to do 1 double crochet in the next 17 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to start with 1 double crochet. I move to the next stitch, do another double crochet. So here is the second double crochet stitch. I'm going to repeat this 15 more times in order for us to have 1 double crochet in 17 stitches. So after completing the 17 double crochet stitches, what I'm going to do is to do a half double crochet in the next 6 stitches. So here is the first half double crochet stitch. I'm going to do this 5 more times in order for us to have a half double crochet in 6 stitches. So after completing the 2 half double crochet stitches, I'm going to do 2 single crochet stitches in the blue stitches here. All right, so I'm just going to come right here, do a single crochet stitch, move to the next stitch, do another single crochet stitch. Okay, and what I'm going to do next is to turn my work. We're going to skip the 2 single crochet stitches that we just did, skip the next stitch, which is the half double crochet stitch right there, and I'm going to do 5 half double crochet stitches. So here is the first half double crochet stitch. That's 1, 2, and 5. Then I'll move to the next stitch and begin to do double crochet stitches. So here is the first double crochet stitch. Okay, and what I'll do is go on to do 17 double crochet stitches. So I've done 1, I'm going to do 16 more to have a total of 17 double crochet stitches. So after completing the 17 double crochet stitches, what I'm going to do is to do a half double crochet stitch in the next stitch, and I'm going to repeat this 4 more times for us to have 5 half double crochet stitches. So after completing the 5 half double crochet stitches, okay, I'm going to skip the last stitch, skip the next stitch, okay, and I'm going to come right into this stitch here. I'm going to do a single crochet stitch right there. Okay, I'll do a single crochet stitch right there. I move to the next stitch And what I'm going to do is to do a slip stitch. And once that is done, I'm going to cut my yarn, okay, pull my yarn through and go on to hide the rest of this yarn. So I wanted to explain something, that the reason why I did a half double crochet here and double crochet stitches here and going down to half double crochet right here is because I wanted this part to have sort of like this slight elevation that you can see here. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, kindly give us a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, turn on the bell so you get updates when I post new crochet tutorials, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye.